For more than 20 years, the Harry Potter series has remained one of the most powerful and beloved stories in modern entertainment history. What began as a simple children's book about an orphan boy living under the stairs slowly transformed into a global phenomenon that crossed age groups, cultures, and generations. Readers around the world were drawn not only to the magic spells and mythical creatures, but also to the emotional heart of the story. Harry Potter spoke about friendship, loss, courage, and belonging in a way that felt personal to millions of people. Long before the films were released, fans were already deeply invested, rereading the books, discussing theories, and forming emotional connections with characters who felt almost real. For many children, Harry Potter was the first book that made reading feel exciting rather than forced, while adults found themselves equally absorbed by its clever storytelling and layered themes. When Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was first published in the United Kingdom in 1997, no one could have predicted the impact it would have. The initial print run was very small, and the book appeared modest compared to other fantasy titles on the market. At that time, children's literature rarely dominated headlines or sparked worldwide discussions. Fantasy stories were often seen as niche, appealing mainly to devoted fans rather than the general public. Yet Harry Potter quietly broke those rules. Word of mouth spread quickly as teachers noticed reluctant readers becoming eager bookworms, and parents who began reading aloud to their children found themselves staying up late to read ahead. The story's success was not instant, but it grew steadily, building a loyal audience that expanded with each new release. What made Harry Potter so special was its balance between simplicity and depth. The language was easy enough for young readers to follow, yet the themes were rich enough for adults to appreciate. The magical world felt detailed but not overwhelming, allowing readers to explore it naturally. Hogwarts was not just a school of magic. It became a symbol of escape, possibility, and belonging. The idea of receiving a letter that promised a new life resonated deeply with readers who felt unseen or misunderstood in their own lives. This emotional connection turned casual readers into lifelong fans, creating a shared experience that families and friends could enjoy together. As the series progressed, its influence grew beyond bookshelves. By the time later novels were released, midnight book launches became global events. Bookstores transformed into celebration spaces filled with costumes, decorations, and excited fans waiting for hours just to hold the next chapter of Harry's journey. These events were not limited to children. Parents, teachers, and even grandparents joined in. Reading became a communal experience, something shared rather than solitary. Newspapers analyzed the story's deeper meanings, while early internet forums filled with theories and debates. Harry Potter was no longer just a book series. It was a cultural movement that shaped childhood memories and social connections. This massive popularity laid the groundwork for film adaptations, which would introduce Harry Potter to an even wider audience. However, what many fans did not realize at the time was that beneath the surface of this magical success were countless hidden details, creative decisions, and behind-the-scenes truths that would only come to light years later. While audiences believed they had uncovered every secret through careful viewing and endless discussion, the cast and creators were quietly holding stories that would later change how fans understood the wizarding world. These revelations, shared through interviews, documentaries, and reflections, proved that even the most devoted fans had not seen everything. The magic of Harry Potter, it turned out, was far deeper than anyone initially imagined. When the announcement was made that the Harry Potter books would be turned into films, excitement spread quickly across the world, but it was mixed with fear and doubt. Fans had spent years imagining what Hogwarts looked like, how spells sounded, and what Harry, Hermione, and Ron should be like. Everyone had their own version of the wizarding world in their mind, and many worried that a film could never live up to those personal visions. Adapting such a beloved story carried enormous pressure, not just for filmmakers, but also for the young actors who would become the faces of characters already adored by millions. From the very beginning, the Harry Potter films were expected to do more than entertain. They had to honor a generation's imagination. One of the most difficult challenges was casting. The role of Harry Potter alone felt almost impossible to fill. He was not just a fictional character anymore. He had become a symbol of childhood, resilience, and hope. Casting directors searched tirelessly across the United Kingdom, visiting schools and auditioning thousands of children. They were not just looking for someone who looked like Harry, but someone who could carry emotional weight, grow on screen, and handle global fame at a young age. When Daniel Radcliffe was finally chosen, reactions were mixed. Some fans were unsure, others were curious, and many parents worried about how such intense attention would affect a child so young. Over time, however, Daniel's quiet sincerity and emotional honesty helped audiences accept him as the boy who lived. The casting of Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley was equally important. Hermione needed to be intelligent without feeling distant, confident without losing warmth. Emma Watson brought a natural sharpness and determination to the role that felt authentic rather than forced. Her portrayal helped redefine what a strong female character looked like for a generation of young viewers. Rupert Grint, on the other hand, gave Ron a gentle humor and emotional depth that balanced the trio perfectly. Together, the three actors created a chemistry that felt real and unpolished, which allowed audiences to believe in their friendship. This bond became the emotional core of the films and kept viewers invested as the characters grew older. Beyond the main trio, the adult cast played a major role in grounding the magical story in realism. Actors like Richard Harris, Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman, and Robbie Coltrane brought experience and emotional weight that elevated the films beyond typical children's entertainment. Alan Rickman's portrayal of Severus Snape, in particular, added layers of mystery and tension that audiences would only fully appreciate years later. These seasoned performers treated the story with seriousness and respect, helping the younger actors learn professionalism while ensuring the films appealed to adults as well as children. As each film was released, the pressure only increased. The audience was growing, expectations were rising, and the young cast was aging in real time. This created a unique situation rarely seen in cinema, where viewers watched actors mature alongside their characters. Children who saw the first film in theaters grew up waiting for each new installment, feeling as though Harry, Hermione, and Ron were growing with them. This shared journey strengthened the emotional bond between the audience and the cast, turning the films into milestones rather than simple releases. However, what fans saw on screen was only part of the story. Behind the cameras, the cast faced intense schedules, public scrutiny, and the challenge of maintaining normal childhoods while living extraordinary lives. Many of the creative choices that shaped the films were influenced by real emotions, improvisation, and personal struggles that were never discussed at the time. It was only years later, through honest interviews and reflections, that the cast began revealing how much of the magic came from unplanned moments and quiet decisions made under pressure. These revelations showed that the Wizarding World was not just carefully scripted fantasy, but a living creation shaped by the people who brought it to life. As the Harry Potter films became a permanent part of popular culture, fans believed they knew everything about the Wizarding World. They rewatched scenes countless times, analyzed dialogue, and discussed theories online. Yet, many of the most meaningful details were not written in the scripts at all. Years later, when the cast began sharing their memories in interviews and documentaries, fans discovered that some of the most iconic moments came from accidents, improvisation, and personal instincts rather than careful planning. These behind-the-scenes revelations added new depth to the films and changed how viewers understood familiar scenes. One of the most surprising examples involves Daniel Radcliffe's portrayal of Harry himself. Fans often praised small gestures that made Harry feel awkward and relatable, such as the way he frequently pushed his glasses up his nose. For years, viewers assumed this was a deliberate acting choice meant to reflect Harry's shy personality. In reality, the movement came from a simple practical problem. The glasses Daniel wore during filming constantly slipped down, and instead of stopping scenes repeatedly, he adjusted them naturally. Over time, this small habit became part of Harry's identity. It showed how minor real-life issues could turn into defining character traits without anyone realizing it. Rupert Grint also added unexpected depth to Ron Weasley through improvisation. While Ron was written as the comic relief, Rupert's natural sense of humor and timing brought warmth to the character. Many of Ron's nervous laughs, awkward pauses, and clumsy reactions were not scripted. They came from Rupert responding honestly to scenes and situations. These moments helped Ron feel human rather than exaggerated, allowing audiences to connect with him emotionally rather than seeing him as just a funny friend. His improvisation balanced the seriousness of the story and made the trio's friendship feel real. Emma Watson's portrayal of Hermione Granger was shaped just as much by her own personality. Directors quickly noticed her intelligence and focus, encouraging her to lean into those qualities. Her fast-paced delivery and confident tone were not always written that way in the script, but they matched Hermione perfectly. Emma's natural discipline sometimes mirrored Hermione's perfectionism, creating a character that felt authentic rather than forced. Over time, Hermione became a role model for young viewers, representing intelligence, bravery, and moral strength in a way that felt genuine. Other cast members also revealed how playful tension on set influenced performances. Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy, admitted that he often exaggerated sneers, eye rolls, and cold stares toward the main trio. He did this intentionally to create discomfort and rivalry, helping the tension feel real on screen. These unscripted expressions were often captured by the camera and kept in the final cuts, strengthening Draco's presence as a believable antagonist. The natural chemistry and occasional rivalry between actors added realism that could not have been created through dialogue alone. Not all behind-the-scenes moments were lighthearted. Filming the Harry Potter movies was physically demanding, especially for young actors working with complex stunts and effects. Daniel Radcliffe once shared a frightening experience during an underwater scene in Goblet of Fire. Due to a misunderstanding with the safety team, he accidentally signaled that he was out of air. Crew members rushed him to the surface, turning a routine take into a tense moment. Although no harm was done, the incident reminded everyone that creating magical illusions required real physical risks. Some stories carried far more serious consequences. During the filming of Deathly Hallows, Daniel's stunt double, David Holmes, suffered a devastating injury during a flying stunt. An explosion went wrong, and he was left paralyzed from the chest down. This tragic event deeply affected the cast and crew, reminding them that Behind the Fantasy was a demanding and sometimes dangerous production. Despite the injury, David remained closely connected to the cast, and his resilience became a powerful symbol of strength and loyalty within the Harry Potter family. These hidden stories revealed that the films were shaped not only by scripts and special effects, but by human experiences. Accidents, instincts, and emotional connections influenced performances in ways fans never noticed at the time. Revisiting the films with this knowledge allows viewers to see familiar scenes differently, understand that the magic they love was often created through unexpected moments rather than careful design. While audiences around the world watched the Harry Potter cast grow up on screen, very few understood the emotional weight the young actors were carrying behind the scenes. Becoming part of one of the most successful franchises in history brought fame, opportunity, and admiration, but it also came with pressure that most children never experience. Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint were not just playing roles. They were living under constant public attention while trying to navigate childhood and adolescence. Years later, their honest reflections revealed how challenging it was to balance ordinary growth with extraordinary expectations. Daniel Radcliffe has often spoken about the fear and self-doubt he felt during the early years of filming. He was only 11 when he was cast as Harry Potter, and almost overnight, he became one of the most recognizable faces in the world. Fans expected him to perfectly embody a character they already loved, and critics were quick to judge every performance. Daniel admitted that he often questioned whether he was good enough for the role. This insecurity sometimes affected his confidence on set, especially as the films grew darker and more emotionally complex. Yet, those struggles also helped him connect more deeply with Harry's feelings of isolation and pressure, allowing his performance to feel sincere. Emma Watson faced a different but equally intense challenge. Hermione Granger had quickly become a symbol of intelligence, strength, and independence for young readers. Emma felt the responsibility of representing that image correctly, knowing that millions of children looked up to her character. She has shared that she constantly worried about disappointing fans or failing to live up to expectat. Her perfectionist nature pushed her to work harder, memorize lines more thoroughly, and maintain strict discipline. Ironically, these very traits mirrored Hermione's personality, strengthening the authenticity of her performance while increasing the emotional burden she carried. Rupert Grint, although known for bringing humor and warmth to Ron Weasley, often felt overshadowed by his co-stars. Ron was sometimes dismissed as just a comic relief, and Rupert worried that his contribution was not fully appreciated. Over time, however, he came to understand the emotional importance of his character. Ron represented loyalty, insecurity, and quiet bravery, qualities that balanced Harry's intensity and Hermione's intellect. Rupert's subtle performance added depth to the trio's dynamic, even if it took years for him to recognize his own impact. The emotional environment on set was shaped not only by the young cast, but also by the support of experienced actors. Richard Harris, who played Dumbledore in the first two films, became a mentor to Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel has spoken warmly about Harris's kindness, humor, and guidance, which helped him feel less alone during intense filming schedules. Harris's passing in 2002 was deeply felt by the cast, marking one of the first real losses they experienced together. When Michael Gambon took over the role, the tone shifted, but the sense of responsibility and respect for the character remained as the series progressed. The lines between the actors' real lives and their fictional roles became increasingly blurred. Fans grew emotionally attached not just to Harry, Hermione, and Ron, but to Daniel, Emma, and Rupert as individuals. Their faces appeared on magazine covers, interviews followed their every move, and their personal choices were often scrutinized. Growing up under this level of attention made it difficult to maintain privacy or normal social development. Despite these challenges, the cast formed strong bonds with one another, relying on shared experiences to cope with pressure. These emotional struggles and personal connections shaped performances in ways audiences rarely noticed. Moments of fear, hesitation, or determination on screen often reflected genuine feelings the actors were experiencing at the time. The Harry Potter films became more than a job. They became a shared journey that influenced the cast's identities long after the final scene was filmed. Understanding this emotional context adds a deeper layer to the story, reminding fans that behind the magic were real people growing, struggling, and finding strength together. Beyond the performances of the cast and the emotional journey of growing up on screen, much of Harry Potter's lasting power comes from the careful planning and subtle creativity of its author and filmmakers. J.K. Rowling did not simply write a series of books as she went along. She carefully mapped out the entire story years in advance. This long-term planning allowed her to plant small clues early in the series that would only make sense much later. At the time of release, readers were often too caught up in the excitement of each new adventure to notice these hints. It was only through rereads and later explanations that fans began to realize how deeply layered the story truly was. One of the most striking examples of this hidden planning appears in the very first book. In Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Professor Quirrell casually mentions that Severus Snape is skilled in counter curses. For first-time readers, this line feels like minor background information. Years later, after learning about Snape's true loyalties and sacrifices, the comment takes on new meaning. It quietly establishes Snape as someone deeply involved in protective magic, foreshadowing his role in shielding Harry throughout the series. At the time, few readers could have imagined that such a small line would connect to one of the story's most complex characters. Another early clue that went unnoticed involves Tom Riddle's diary in Chamber's Secrets. When the book was first released, the diary was seen as a clever but simple magical object used to advance the plot. Only much later did Rowling confirm that it was the first Horcrux Harry ever encountered. This revelation changed how fans viewed the second book entirely. What once seemed like a standalone mystery became a crucial piece of Voldemort's long-term plan. Rereading the story with this knowledge reveals how carefully Rowling introduced dark concepts in subtle ways before fully explaining them. Rowling also used character names as hidden signals. Many fans initially assumed the names were chosen for style rather than meaning. Over time, however, readers discovered that names often revealed deeper truths. Remus Lupin's name, for example, hints strongly at his werewolf identity. Remus refers to Roman mythology involving wolves, while Lupin comes from the Latin word for wolf. Sirius Black's name references a dog star and his ability to transform into a large black dog. These clues were always present, hiding in plain sight, waiting for attentive readers to connect the dots. The filmmakers also added layers of hidden detail to the wizarding world. Directors like Alfonso Cuarón encouraged set designers to include small background elements that rewarded careful viewers. In Prisoner of Azkaban, moving portraits often display characters from Rowling's extended lore, known mainly to devoted fans. These details rarely drew attention, but added depth and authenticity to the world. The Marauder's Map is another example of visual storytelling. Beyond showing footsteps, it includes subtle jokes and background movements that many viewers missed during first viewings. Even symbolic objects carried hidden meaning. Harry's wand sharing a phoenix feather core with Voldemort's wand initially seemed like a convenient plot explanation. Over time, it became clear that this connection represented their intertwined destinies. The invisibility cloak, introduced early as a useful magical tool, was later revealed to be one of the Deathly Hallows. This revelation retroactively transformed its importance, proving that Rowling had planted the seeds of the series ending from the very beginning. These author and director secrets revealed that Harry Potter was designed to reward patience and attention. The story grew richer with time, offering new understanding to those willing to look deeper. What once felt like simple fantasy became a carefully constructed narrative filled with meaning, proving that the magic of Harry Potter was never accidental. It was intentional, thoughtful, and far more complex than fans initially realized. Years after the final Harry Potter film was released, the series continues to hold a powerful place in the hearts of fans around the world. Unlike many franchises that fade once their stories end, Harry Potter has remained alive through rereads, rewatches, fan discussions, and new generations discovering the story for the first time. What makes this lasting popularity especially meaningful is how new information and behind-the-scenes revelations have transformed the way fans experience the series. Details shared by the cast, creators, and J.K. Rowling herself have given audiences fresh reasons to revisit the Wizarding world with deeper understanding and appreciation. As fans grow older, their relationship with the story changes. Children who once saw Harry Potter as an exciting adventure now recognize its themes of loss, sacrifice, and moral complexity. Adults returning to the series often notice emotional moments they overlooked before, especially those connected to characters like Snape, Neville, and Dumbledore. Learning that Alan Rickman knew Snape's entire arc from the beginning, for example, adds emotional weight to his performance. Scenes that once felt cold or distant now appear layered with hidden compassion and restraint. These revelations encourage fans to watch the films not just for nostalgia, but for insight. The openness of the cast in later years has also helped humanize the franchise. Hearing actors speak honestly about fear, doubt, and pressure reminds fans that the magic on screen was created by real people facing real challenges. Daniel Radcliffe's reflections on growing up under constant attention, Emma Watson's struggle with perfectionism, and Rupert Grint's quiet insecurities make their performances feel even more genuine. These admissions do not weaken the illusion of the Wizarding world. Instead, they strengthen it by showing how authenticity and vulnerability shape the story. Fan communities play a major role in keeping these revelations alive. Online forums, podcasts, and video essays continue to analyze hidden clues and behind-the-scenes stories. Each new interview or documentary sparks renewed discussion, allowing fans to share discoveries and interpretations. This collective exploration keeps the story evolving, proving that Harry Potter is not a static piece of entertainment, but a living narrative shaped by ongoing reflection. New viewers benefit from this shared knowledge, entering the series with a richer understanding than earlier audiences ever had. The influence of Harry Potter can also be seen in how it changed storytelling expectations. The careful planning of clues, long-term character development, and emotional honesty set new standards for both books and films aimed at younger audiences. Creators across genres have drawn inspiration from Rowling's approach, understanding that stories resonate more deeply when they trust audiences to grow and think critically. The success of Harry Potter showed that fantasy could be both accessible and profound, entertaining and meaningful at the same time. Perhaps the most important reason these revelations still matter is that they remind fans why the story felt so real in the first place. The magic of Harry Potter was never just about spells or special effects. It came from relationships, choices, and personal growth. Knowing that many iconic moments were shaped by improvisation, instinct, and emotional truth reinforces the idea that authenticity creates lasting impact. These hidden truths do not take away from the fantasy. They deepen it, allowing fans to connect with the story on a more personal level. As new generations continue to discover Harry Potter, these insights ensure that the series remains relevant and emotionally powerful. The Wizarding world may be fictional, but the lessons it offers are timeless. By understanding what was hidden behind the scenes and between the lines, fans can appreciate the story not just as a childhood memory, but as a carefully crafted journey that continues to reveal new magic with every return. When everything is considered together, the cast confessions, the hidden author clues, the emotional struggles, and the creative risks, it becomes clear that the biggest thing Harry Potter fans never fully figured out is this. The magic of the series was never confined to the story itself. It lived in the people who made it, the timing of its release, and the way it grew alongside its audience. Fans spent years searching for hidden symbols, secret meanings, and clever Easter eggs, yet the most powerful truth remained quietly overlooked. Harry Potter worked because it was built on genuine human emotion, trust in long-term storytelling, and a rare collaboration between creators and audience. The cast did not simply act out a finished vision. They helped shape it. Small habits, improvisations, and emotional reactions became permanent parts of characters loved worldwide. These details were not planned years in advance, yet they blended seamlessly into the story. This is why, even after countless rewatches, the films still feel alive rather than mechanical. Knowing that so much came from instinct and real experience allows fans to see the wizarding world as something organic rather than manufactured. It explains why the characters feel relatable despite living in a magical universe. J.K. Rowling's approach to storytelling also played a major role in this lasting impact. By trusting readers to grow, question, and revisit her work, she created a series